Welcome to Nightline. I'm Brendan Wong. The headlines. Government to include contingency package in Budget 2020. And Hong Kong protest brings city to a standstill. Good morning. Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng said the government would include contingency measures in Budget 2020 to insulate Malaysia from the potential adverse impact arising from the US-China trade war. Lim said as China is Malaysia's largest trading partner, the trade war will definitely have some spillover effects on Malaysia.
I think this is where at the budget we are going to have contingency measures in the event that the trade dispute escalates or worsens. So definitely there will be a package a contingency package to try to, as much as possible, to insulate Malaysia from any adverse impact from this trade dispute.
Lim said this to reporters after officiating the National Tax Conference 2019 in Kuala Lumpur on Monday. Lim also said the government is not likely to introduce new tax measures in Budget 2020, which will be tabled in Parliament in October.
If there are any tax measures, you want to impose it or implement it early. You don't implement it in the middle. So it will be unlikely there will be any new tax measures. But definitely our rule inheritance tax even out for the foreseeable future.
Earlier in his speech, Lim said the country's economic growth was performing well on target based on the current economic performance. However, Lim, who is also DAP Secretary General, said to keep the country on the current course, it needs to have political stability. The government will discuss the uproar surrounding the Education Ministry's decision to introduce HUT calligraphy in the Year for Bahasa Melayu syllabus next year. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail also said HUT or Jawi calligraphy is an art form and has nothing to do with religion.
Memang saya ambil maklum dan saya akan bincang dengan Perdana Menteri. Walaupun Perdana Menteri telah mengeluarkan kenyataan, kita akan jumpa Perdana Menteri akan lepas ke Tokyo, Fukuoka. Ya. Tapi kita akan bincang dengan lebih mendalam sebab kita memang mengambil maklum keresahan orang Tionghoa dalam isu ini.
The Prime Minister was reported as saying that the decision to introduce CUT was final, adding that the government has never barred other races from preserving the written scripts of their respective mother tongues. Education Minister Dr. Mazli Malik has also said that school children would be tested on their CUT writing skills during examinations. Meanwhile, Chinese educationist groups Tong and Xiao reiterated their stand against the government's move, urging them to delay its implementation, which is being set for next year. The group claimed that the move to introduce HUT would not help Chinese and Tamil primary school pupils to improve their Malay language skills.
We are talking about strengthening our learning and mastering of Bahasa Melayu as a language, but it's not Zawi is not a language, but it's a writing. So I think it's character writing. So we are saying that this is different. This is written clearly, and all the SRJC and SRJT will want to emphasize and improve our standard of Bahasa Melayu, which we don't have a lot of time now, so we want to focus on that.
The group will meet Deputy Education Minister Tioni Ching on Tuesday to discuss the issue. They want the Education Ministry to expound on its explanation that school children will not be tested on their HUT writing skills during exams. The government is studying the possibility of enacting a new act that will protect domestic workers. Human Resources Minister Kula says the new standalone act will guarantee aspects like their working hours, holidays, salaries, insurance and other things. However, he said the new law is still 1 or 2 years away from being finalized. He said that for now, they would make the necessary amendments to the Employment Act to spell out certain protections for domestic workers in the country. Currently, domestic workers are governed under the Employment Act. A former banker on Monday told the High Court that fugitive businessman Lau Tek Jo, better known as Jo Lo, had informed her that Datuk Sri Muhammad Najib Tun Razak did not want to close his accounts with AmBank. This was revealed by AmBank's former relationship manager Joanne Yu Jingping during cross-examination by lawyer Havinderjit Singh. Yu, 48, confirmed the transcript of the conversation between her and Jo Lo, which was read out in court by Havinderjit. The court previously heard that senior management of AmBank at the end of 2014 had proposed and discussed the closure of Datuk Sri Najib's current accounts, as they were constantly overdrawn and the bank often had to wait for adequate funds to be deposited in order to clear cheques issued by the former Prime Minister. Yu also said that she did not suspect anything amiss during her dealings with Jo Lo. The witness also agreed to a suggestion by Havinderjit that a transfer of 5 million ringgit from construction company Putra Perdana Development Sendirian Berhad into Datuk Sri Najib's account ending with the number 906 was done in the span of 1 day. The 5 million ringgit transfer was meant to necessitate a cheque issued from the 906 account, causing some 3 million ringgit to be overdrawn. Datuk Sri Najib faces 3 counts of criminal breach of trust, 1 count of abusing his power and 3 counts of money laundering involving SRC international funds amounting to 42 million ringgit. The trial continues on Tuesday. Meanwhile, the Court of Appeal on Monday affirmed the High Court's decision to start Datuk Sri Najib's One Malaysia Development Berhad corruption trial in precisely 14 more days, whether his trial in the SRC international case is still ongoing or not. Datuk Abdul Rahman Sebli, who chaired the 3-judge bench, dismissed the appeal brought by both the prosecution and defence to delay the 1MDB trial, also known as the Tanner case. The other 2 Court of Appeal judges were Datuk Sabaria Muhammad Yusuf and Datuk Hasna Muhammad Hashim. Datuk Abdul Rahman, in reading out the judgment, said the prosecution cannot choose to adjourn a case nor utilise the court as a mere repository. He added that the appellate court could only step in if the High Court had applied the wrong principle of law or if there was a miscarriage of justice, but the refusal to adjourn the 1MDB trial start date. Two men escaped with 1 million ringgit worth of jewellery in a brazen robbery in Ipoh, Perak early Monday morning. The robbers used a lorry to crash into two four-wheel drives which were transporting the jewellery to Kelantan. In the 6:30 a.m. incident, 2 men in their 30s were travelling in 2 four-wheel drives when their vehicles were hit by a lorry while passing Jalan Chinhua. 2 suspects then emerged from the lorry armed with machetes and grabbed several bags of jewellery before fleeing the scene using another vehicle. The whole ordeal happened within 5 minutes. It is believed that the jewellery was taken from the owner's house to be delivered to Kelantan. According to police, the suspects used the lorry that was reported missing in Klang, Selangor early Monday. They also believe that 2 more accomplices were involved in the escape. Investigators are now intensifying efforts to identify the car and are tracking down the suspects. In Pulau Pinang, police managed to bust a drug syndicate with the arrest of a man and the seizure of an assortment of drugs worth 1.14 million ringgit. According to Deputy State Police Chief Datuk Rosli Chek, the 54-year-old suspect, who has an expertise to manufacture his own drugs, was arrested at his rented house in Taman Permai, Bukit Tengah.
Dia mula-mula kita tangkap di luar rumah. Hasil daripada maklumat, hasil daripada observation, tangkap di luar rumah. So masa di luar rumah tu dah jumpa dadah. Lepas tu masuk dalam rumah, dia simpan dadah-dadah ni di belakang. Kan biasa rumah Cina tu, kan ada top corner, ada table tu di belakang tu kan. Ada dia orang panggil apa, altar. Di belakang tu disimpan.
Among the drugs seized from behind the altar were 15.3 kilograms of shabu, 79 grams of heroin and over 12,000 ecstasy pills. Rossley added the suspect, who has been remanded until Wednesday to assist in the drug trafficking probe, has 9 past criminal records and has been working alone. The case is being investigated under Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act, which carries the mandatory death penalty upon conviction. Airbus recently introduced a new 100 to 150-seater aircraft, the A220, and the plane maker is expecting to sell at least 7,000 of the new aircraft in the next 20 years. Marketing Director Christine Digagné said Asia Pacific is expected to account for 20% of the demand.
But we also believe at Airbus that the aircraft really fits the market because it has a superior range and it brings 100 to 150 passengers all the way to Japan or Australia. So we really believe it's a key tool to develop the Malaysia traffic.
The cabin is spacious, with lots of legroom for economy class and large overhead compartments to store cabin luggage. It's powered by 2 Pratt & Whitney Pure Power latest generation engines, which burn 20% less fuel. Malaysia is the 3rd largest market for Airbus in Asia Pacific, with 727 orders for various plane models. The North African Kingdom of Morocco is well renowned for their rich culture and history, both well presented in their fragrant cuisine that can satisfy many taste buds. Malaysians now have the opportunity to taste and experience the flavors of Morocco during the Moroccan Food Festival held at Sofitel Hotel in Kuala Lumpur. Wan Izul Islam has the story.
This is the unique French-Moroccan cuisine, a mixture of spices from both the east and the west combined together to make a very unique savory taste. Today we'll be tasting some of the dishes such as the bakula as well as the zalouk to see and find out what makes these unique cuisine special to that of Morocco. Among the unique qualities expressed through Moroccan food are the blend of spices used in most of their recipes. The dishes are slow cooked and use a combination of herbs and fresh ingredients that create an aromatic, savory and colorful spread. Some of the most famous and cherished Moroccan dishes on display included the Moroccan lamb tagine, vegetable couscous, and a variety of salads.
The Moroccan cuisine is rich in flavor and rich in spices as well, because we have the trade from the west, trade from the east. They came to Morocco and the spices become very unique and very popular. So we have in Morocco so much dishes which is very famous, and we're going to speak about the national dish which is popular. It's the couscous with the vegetable and caramelized onion, and it goes with a lamb tagine with prawns and apricot.
Most Moroccan dishes share similar characteristics with Arabic food. However, their spices are not as strong, making it less spicy on the tongue. Similar spices can also be found in Malaysian dishes that are used to make certain Moroccan food, allowing Asians to easily adapt their taste buds to the new flavors.
There's always a bit of Middle East, North Africa touch in Malaysia through all the community living in Kuala Lumpur, and we had the opportunity to fly the chef Gary from a sister hotel in Middle East, and Chef Gary is Moroccan, so we wanted him to come for a week to experience with the team here, to train the team and to develop a food festival together.
You know, the Moroccan food is one of the richest food in the world. It's very unique and it's very original. It's a mixture of flavors and colors, and it reflects the Moroccan history and the Moroccan culture.
The Moroccan Food Festival hopes that Malaysians will enjoy the tastes of Morocco and inspire them to one day visit the country known as the Santorini of Africa. Flavors of Morocco will be held until August 9th at the Food and Beverage Outlet in Sofitel Hotel, Kuala Lumpur during lunch and dinner. Wanizul Islam for Nightline, TV3.
Still to come on Nightline. Police rule out abduction in disappearance of Irish teen. Missing Irish teen Nora Quirin is believed to have left her room at the resort on her own. Negeri Sembilan Police Chief Datuk Muhammad Mat Yusof said this was based on information provided by Quirin's sister, who had found one of the windows in the room open on Sunday morning. Datuk Muhammad denied that police had classified the case as an abduction. He said the case currently is being treated as a missing person case. Datuk Muhammad said this at a press conference called specifically to address the issue on Monday. He said a helicopter from the police air wing unit has been deployed to search for Quirin. Apart from the police, others involved in the operation were personnel from the Fire and Rescue Services Department, Civil Defence Force, Rela, as well as members of the Orang Asli community and local residents. Datuk Muhammad said the teams would continue their search throughout the night. Two of the 4 policemen who were admitted to the Bentong hospital last Friday for suspected toxic gas poisoning has been discharged Sunday. According to Deputy Pahang Police Chief Datuk Muhammad Yusri Hassan Basri, the condition of the remaining 2 are reported to be stable. 8 policemen fell ill after inspecting the location where 15 barrels believed to contain solid sodium cyanide were found at the Falkra Simpla plantation near Karak Pahang. 4 of them were admitted to the Bentong hospital with nausea and vomiting, while 4 others received outpatient treatment. Police are still investigating to identify the suspects who dumped the toxic chemical in the area. Datuk Muhammad Yusri said stern action will be taken against those responsible, as their action can pose a health hazard. Still in Selangor, 4 motorcyclists were injured after they crashed into a Perudua Myvi in a 7-car pileup on the Damansara Puchong Highway Sunday afternoon. A dashcam video of the incident, which has gone viral, shows the riders flying into the air as they could not stop in time to avoid the car. Selangor Traffic Investigation and Enforcement Chief Superintendent Azman Shariat said the driver of the Myvi was following closely behind a Mazda CX-3 and could not brake in time. After the Myvi had hit the car in front, it swerved to the right, causing the motorcyclist to crash into it. All 4 riders suffered broken bones and were sent to the Serdang Hospital for treatment. The case is being investigated under the Road Transport Act. A stockbroker on Monday was charged at the Seremban Magistrates Court with the murder of an elderly couple in Nilai, Negeri Sembilan last month. 40-year-old Tan Kian Nip was accused of murdering 67-year-old Eng Chong Hua with a knife at her house in Taman Desa Melati in Nilai on July the 24th. He was also charged with killing 73-year-old Tan Kim Ju at the same place and time. The stockbroker faces the death penalty if found guilty under Section 302 of the Penal Code. The court set September 10th for re-mention of the case. The Malaysian Quarantine and Inspection Services MAQIS department, in collaboration with the Customs Department, has seized 55 kilograms of pork products in 2 separate incidents at the arrival hall of KLIA2. In the first seizure on July the 28th, a total of 20 kilograms of pork sausages were seized from locals who brought in the product from China. While in the second incident, 35 kilograms of the same product, which was placed in 3 separate bags, also brought in from China by a local resident, was seized Sunday. The consignment seized by officials would be disposed in accordance with the prescribed procedures to prevent the spread of the African swine fever virus. Coming up after the break, scores dead in explosion outside Cairo hospital. Welcome back. In China, Hong Kong police fired tear gas at protesters on Monday as a general strike plunged the Asian financial hub into fresh chaos, paralyzing transport and bringing the city to an unprecedented standstill, with at least 8 railway lines, including the Airport Express, shut fully or partially. In the chaos, several protesters were seen blocking entrances to the commuter trains, occasionally leading to fighting with other passengers rushing to their destinations. An estimated 200 flights were also cancelled on Monday, and only one of 2 runways in the city's main airport is operating. Media reports blamed it on aviation workers joining the strike. Elsewhere, a number of protesters also tried to block traffic, causing brief congestion before authorities came to clear the streets of steel and plastic barriers. Police have so far claimed to have arrested 420 protesters since June the 9th on charges including rioting, unlawful assembly, possessing offensive weapons, assaulting officers, and obstructing police operations. In India, the state of Kashmir has been placed in lockdown after government revoked a special status granted to the troubled region. On Monday, Interior Minister Amit Shah told India's parliament that the federal government would scrap Article 370, a constitutional provision that grants special status and allows Kashmir to make its own laws. The decree, aimed at bringing Kashmir fully under the control of Delhi, was subsequently approved by the Indian president. In anticipation of the announcement, which many analysts predicted could set off rioting and unrest, India has flooded Kashmir with thousands of extra troops. The Indian authorities also evacuated tourists, closed schools, and cut off internet services, sparking fears of violence in the restive region. And over in Egypt, at least 20 people were killed while 47 others were injured in a multiple car explosion outside a cancer hospital in central Cairo. According to authorities, the blast occurred around midnight local time on a road running alongside the Nile River in an area outside Egypt's National Cancer Institute. A car driving against traffic had collided with 3 other cars on Nile Corniche Street, triggering an explosion and a fire that forced the evacuation of nearby buildings. So far, there was no official statement indicating it was an attack, but according to the country's Interior Ministry, the car contained explosives and was to be used in a terrorist operation. Those injured in the explosion were taken to nearby hospitals. An investigation into the incident is now underway. Sports item wraps up Nightline. Before we leave, let's take a look as a restored World War II Spitfire takes off on a first ever attempt to fly the iconic fighter plane around the world. I'm Brendan Wong. Thank you for watching.